Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's me, Isaiah, here with my favorite co-host, Mr. Moses Famino.
What's going on, everybody?
And today, shooting guard rankings. We did this with the point guards already, so if you haven't seen that video and you want to check it out, it's already up on the channel. But today, we've got the two guards. We're excited to do this list. Quick note. We said it at the start of the last video, and we still had someone comment calling us stupid for not listening. So we'll get it started here. To qualify for this list, you had to have played 41 games last year. That is our minimum requirement. You had to play half of the season, and this is based off of last year. Kyrie wasn't in the point guards video. He's in this video right here. Spoiler. Other names, DeJounte Murray. He's going to play point guard next year in New Orleans. He was a shooting guard last year in Atlanta with Trae Young. So he's a two guard in this video. Mo and I do not know each other's list. We're going to have honorable mentions, then go from 10 all the way to 1, breaking it down as we go through. Mo, anything to add before we get started?
Nope. I think you covered all my bases.
Let's go. First honorable mention is a guy who did not qualify, but that we want to include. We got Zach LaVine. Great offensive player. We'll be shorter with the honorables, and then more in depth from our top 10. LaVine just didn't qualify, wasn't close. Kind of. That's that when it comes to LaVine.
Yep.
Next, for me, I have got Cam Thomas.
I agree.
Absolute bucket, 22 point per game scorer, and he might go even crazier this year.
Yeah.
The Nets don't have many offensive options, and that man can score. That man puts the ball in the hoop. Yep. So when we make this list next year, there's a good chance that Cam Thomas is in the running yet again.
For sure.
An incredible bucket getter.
Yep.
Other guys. This is Naz Reid, and you might be thinking, Naz Reid is not a shooting guard. You were correct. They don't have Jalen Suggs on this tier maker, my Gonzaga GOAT, a March Madness legend. But I wanted to include him. Incredible defensive player. Yeah, yep. Like offensively, he's still growing, but defensively, he's a hound. Fully embraced the Marcus Smart role that for Mo and I as Celtics fans love to see. Just an absolute dog with the Magic. Was close to getting in for me, but didn't quite make it. So we have Naz Reid here. But it's Jalen Suggs. Okay, we just, we had to have someone to fill his place. Other honorables. And this is where it gets into spoiler-ish territory because we don't know each other's list. I've got Bradley Beal.
I do as well.
Okay. For Bradley, I think it's tough. He falls under the category of players who are paid a lot, and so they're compared primarily to the amount they make and then their production, and those two things are not clicking.
Yep.
His statistics.
Go ahead. Look at this. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, you look at the stats and you're like, oh, I mean, he's 18 points a game, 5 assists, 4.5 boards, a steal, like pretty good numbers. But what he's coming off of in Washington, obviously, he was one of the only options. He was coming to a lot better team, so numbers are bound to fall. But just the way they did, the way the season went, the eye test, how the Suns looked together, we honestly didn't get to see that big three all that much together, which still is super sucky, but it just didn't click. And Bradley took a step back, and it's crazy to not have him in this top 10 shooting guards list, as he's been one of those top guys in the league for a while, but not last year.
No, and I think too, we'll talk about the Suns a lot. We've got plenty of NBA content ahead of the season and through the season. He might honestly, and I really do mean this, he might be better served as a sixth man. And I think for players, particularly ex stars, ex all stars, that's a hard one to get off because you were the guy at one point in your career. And for Bradley Beal, it wasn't even that long ago that he was the guy on a franchise. But in the way that the Suns are adding Tyus Jones with the Devin Booker, it's a spot that I honestly could suit him better. Will that
Mhm.
happen? No. But I think in terms of coaching, Beal could thrive better with that role on him, as opposed to the weight of being a member in a big three on a playoff team.
Spoiler, but could be like a guy I'm gonna talk about on my list. So
Love it. Love it. Um, in terms of other guys here, Dante DiVincenzo, do you have him in your top 10?
I do.
Then guess what? You're right back here, brother.
I
Jalen Green, do you have him?
do not.
Okay. A guy who has the potential to rise into this. I just need to see a little more.
Yes.
It
Took a step for sure.
absolutely.
But
It,
yeah, I agree with that.
in that time too, without Shengun when he was hurt, Green was hooping. He
Mhm.
looked really good, and
Yeah.
he looked better, as you said. Took a step. So just keep building off this. There's no reason he can't be in this top 10. But just one of those guys who missed it for me at least.
For sure.
Trying to see, is there anyone else as an honorable? Do you have Malik Monk?
I do.
Okay. Is there anyone here in this area who you'd like to include as an honorable before we go in?
Yes, but I believe they're on your list, so I'm
Okay.
gonna leave it for now.
Okay. With that being said, there's the honorable mentions. Anything you want to add before we get into the top 10?
Let's roll. I'm ready.
Let's roll, baby. At the 10 spot, Mo, who have you got at your shooting guard position?
Pump faked you earlier, but now you can move him up. I got Dante DiVincenzo at the 10 spot.
Perfect.
What a season he
Mhm.
had last year for the Knicks. Huge in the playoffs as well. Energizer, defense, big bucket, big stop. DiVincenzo was there for New York. Yes, the stats might not jump off the page at you. 15 and a half points a game, 2.7 assists, 3.7
Mhm.
boards, 1.3 steals, great defense, but it's the eye test for me. It's watching the player, watching him throughout the season, how he impacted his team at all these things we talked about in our point guard video. And DiVincenzo checks all those boxes for me. And I believe he has earned top 10 shooting guard spot.
Yeah, he's a guy for me who just missed it coming off of a career season.
Mm-hmm.
He was very good, a 40% three-point shooter, knockdown, and one of those guys when you look at the New York Knicks and the damage that they can do this season, he's one of those biggest X factors for me, where
Mm-hmm.
if he has a similar season again, that dramatically raises the floor of the New York Knicks. Like,
100%.
if he can build off last year, if last year wasn't a fluke in terms of just playing that well, the Knicks could be very scary. The
Mm-hmm.
Nova Knicks, and they're adding
Mm-hmm.
another one of his boys. Who knows? Maybe this was step one, and next year we see another evolution of a Dante DiVincenzo. So I
For
love
sure.
the pick there from you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As for me, I have a bucket getter, a guy who has been a bit through the ringer, has had some tough critics, but I've got Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat to kick off my top 10. Um, 20.8 points per game, 5.3 boards, 4.5 assists. When this man is on, he's on. And we saw in that game in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics, maybe the best game of his career. He
Mhm.
looked dynamite. His playmaking was crisp. He was getting to his spots. He was knocking his shot down. When Tyler Hero is playing at that high level that we see from him, he is even higher than 10 on the
Yeah.
shooting guard list. Like
Mhm.
legitimately. He just has those tough stretches for me, and a lot of it is on the defensive end. He isn't a bad defender, but he goes through those stretches where it kind of lulls you,
Mhm.
and it makes it harder to play him, particularly when it's playoff time. Um, and I think that's what holds him back from guys at the 9 and 8 spot who I have, who are lesser known names, but to me are better overall players. And that's why I've got Hero at 10, deserves to be on the list, at least in the conversation, but held back a little bit by his overall defense.
Um, we can just keep going on to number 9 because I got
Beautiful.
Tyler Hero at 9, and that is one of my biggest notes is defense hurts him overall compared to the guys above him on this list.
Yeah.
It was obviously an injury-riddled season with some knee and foot stuff going on that kept him out, but did make the minimum, so he is a part of the team. My top 10. As you said, explosive on offense when he gets
Hmm.
going, but it is that inconsistent stretches that make him unplayable sometimes when those shots aren't falling. It's tough to add elsewhere for him at times, but
Yeah.
when he is cooking, easily top 10 or above shooting guard in the league.
Without a doubt. And for my number 9 spot, a guy who I referenced as just having more tools, particularly on the defensive side, I've got Devin Vassell
Mhm.
of the San Antonio Spurs at my 9 spot. Um, a guy who can still score the ball very effectively, 19.5 points, 3.8 rebounds, 4.1 assists, but a steal a game, and just being able to impact the game in more versatile ways. One of those building blocks for the Spurs that is just going to be one of those key components of this early Wembanyama era. Like
Mhm.
he can score the ball well. He just does everything efficiently. It's hard to be, overly critical, and giving you almost 20 points a game on top of that. He's just been a player who has developed and developed and developed. Obviously, a big part of that is the San Antonio system and Coach Pops. But I think Vassell is one of those guys. As I said with Hero, when he is on, he is even higher than where he's placed on this list. Um, just an overall great guard.
Yeah. Um, this is actually the player I was referencing who would have been an honorable mention for me. But I love Devin Vassell, who's been doing great
Hmm.
stuff in San Antonio. Definitely helps having Pop there to get his young career going. But he has
Yeah.
been a really solid player for them, and he's going to be a big piece as they continue to build toward this kind of run at the championships with Victor and all. So not
Hmm.
mad at the ranking at all.
Beautiful. And with that 8 spot,
8.
kick us
I'll
off.
I'll take it away here. I got Malik Monk of the Sacramento Kings at 8. The 6th man, almost of the year winner, second in the voting behind the Nas Reed, but an unbelievable season for Malik. Just a spark plug when he gets hot. Had him higher than Hero based on the efficiency. I know Hero's stats are a little bit better, but
Hmm.
I love Monk's efficiency and his athleticism adds to his ability to keep up and play defense on the defense side of the ball. Um, has been this guy for the Kings. I'm glad he stayed with them uh, through all the talk that's going on. He might not be a king anymore, but I think that's perfect spot for him, perfect
Yeah.
role. Uh, just like you said, Bradley Beal coming off the bench, being able
Mm-hmm.
to spark that second unit, be that guy. He is one of the best in the league at it. Got him at 8.
Yeah. And Malik Monk is a guy who did not make my list, was an honorable mention. Spark plug, like you said, comes in the Kings games and just energizes them.
Mhm.
A tremendous player. And for me too, staying in Sacramento is awesome. I love when a player goes to a spot, pieces everything in their game together, because we saw flashes with the Lakers, we saw flashes with the Hornets, but in Sacramento, he really tied all of those components together and is now in the 6 man of the year running every year,
Mhm.
consistently good. So I love the Malik Monk shout out. Just missed my list. The man who made my 8 spot, Herb Jones. If you have been listening to me talk basketball on the channel at all, you know I love me some Herb Jones. He's a guy whose statistics do not tell the story, similar to a Drew Holiday when we talked about him on the point guard list. 11 points, 3.6 rebounds, 2.6 assists. He is a guy who is a bit of a tweener, plays some 2, plays some 3.
Mhm.
Next year, we'll probably play much more 3 because I think Brandon Ingram gets traded, but different story. I love everything Herb does. One of the best defenders in the league,
Yep.
very versatile, can be matched up against anyone. Top 20 in steals per game at 1.4 in the league. He's lengthy. He's able to get into those passing lanes and able to be explosive enough to get a steal and then take it in the fast break and make another team pay.
Mhm.
Just efficiently solid. Shot almost 42% from long range last year as well. A great player overall, a player who I believe continues to be underrated amongst a lot of groups. He's a guy who doesn't have the numbers of a Devin Vassell or a Malika Monk, or the overall name and staying power of a Tyler Hero, but the
Yeah.
things he does to impact the game and win basketball games, to me, is what puts Herb Jones ahead of a Tyler Hero and a Devin Vassell on my list.
I love the pick. I honestly did not have him listed as a shooting guard,
Yeah.
but, that's on me 'cause, he's an elite player. He reminds me of those, like, the two-way 2K lockdown
Yes, man.
defenders that are just you are so pissed when you see them pop up that you're playing against them, in the passing lanes, doing everything right on defense to slow you down. But like you said, he's still got that athleticism to go the other way, go coast to coast, get a bucket. Really love the highlight here.
Yeah, and two, he's a player where he played shooting guard, but it was weird because the Pelicans were running CJ McCollum at it was just
It
kind of
screwed me up. Yep.
and it's positionless basketball. It's the era of basketball that we're in.
Yeah.
So for a Herb Jones falling at a shooting guard doesn't really mean anything necessarily, given the era of basketball that we're in. But a player that I love when I'm making these all defensive teams, he's always at the forefront,
For
and has
sure.
his name in the mix. So that's why I
Mhm.
got Herb Jones at 8. But at 7, Mo, who do you have to kick us off?
I have a feeling we have the same guy. I kind of want you to kick us off here.
At number 7, I have his new teammate, actually.
Never mind.
And oh, are we different?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. At 7, I have DeJounte Murray
Okay.
with the New Orleans Pelicans. Uh, Played the 2 guard spot last year, which is why he's in the mix, as we said at the start of the video. Um, didn't quite piece the things together that we thought him and Trey Young could be as the guards in
Sick.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
But even without that, 22.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, 6.4 assists, and honestly looked better when Trey Young was not with him and he could kind of excel as both a number 1 scoring option and a playmaker. Um, I'm really excited to see how he plays in New Orleans because it's a mutually beneficial thing.
For sure.
They need a traditional point, and everyone is going to benefit from having yet another 20-point per game scorer on the roster. Just impacts the game in plenty of ways and has remained consistent since playing in San Antonio.
Yeah, man. Only gone up since leaving the Spurs. Showed the flashes there and has turned into a really solid player. I'll talk about him in a bit. At 7, I have our guy, Derek White. I want to be like Derek White. It's my idol. 15.2 points per game, 5.2 assists, 4.2 boards, 1 steal, and the highest total by far on this list, 1.2 blocks a game, which sparked him to his second all defensive team honors in back-to-back seasons. People, they might be upset with us again, similar to the Drew Holiday thing. But if you watched Celtics basketball throughout last year, you would notice that there was numerous games we won because of Derek White, because of plays he made, because of things he did. JT having an off night, JB having an off night. Derek was always there to do exactly what the team needed to get the win. Um, Easily a top 10 shooting guard in the league. If you do not have him on this list, I don't think you know basketball.
No.
Just an absolute needed piece for any team, the player Derek White is.
I love the thought process here. I'll talk about him in a bit. So I'll hold off on my Derek White take for now. At the 6th spot, I'll get us going though. I have Memphis Grizzlies shooting guard Desmond Bain.
I do as well.
All right, our first connect on the list.
Yep.
Desmond Bain, the Grizzlies were a hot mess, not really their own fault where everyone was hurt. This felt like a lost year through and
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Started off obviously shaky, ended shaky, the middle shaky, but the consistent thing here and the consistent piece was Desmond Bain. Uh,
100%.
Almost 24 points a game,
Mm-hmm.
4.4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a steal per game, 46.4% from the field, and 38% from deep. A solid player that I think is going to only benefit from having pieces around him. This was one of his better statistical seasons because he got
Mm-hmm.
more opportunities to be that alpha in the offense and kind of control the ball more than when
Yeah.
a Ja Morant is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I love seeing Desmond Bain just get to hoop, get to play a little
Mm-hmm.
more free. Would that last for playing basketball for an entire year and winning playoff games? I don't think so. But similar to DeJounte Murray, it's a hell of a lot of fun to just watch him be free in the offense. Great defender as well, kind of a pit bull in the way that he presses players and
Yeah.
is able to use his physicality. So I've
100%.
got Desmond Bain here at 6.
You basically covered all my notes. I said had to manage ball handling duties a little bit more
Mhm.
with Jaw suspended and the shoulder injury that ended his season. He can play with those threes, with those fours on defense because of his physicality and his size.
Yeah.
Desmond Bain all around is just a baller. He's fun to watch when he gets that shooting stroke going too. It's touching nylon. He's a fun player to watch. And as you said, one of the few consistent bright spots on the Grizzlies last season. Excited to see
Mhm.
how they're going to look with some health, with a fresh start.
Yeah, man. I I think the sky's the limit for the Grizzlies. Seriously, I don't see
Mhm.
any reason why they don't step into the season and are at least a top 4 seed in the West.
Yeah.
They've got that upside, and it's because of players like Desmond Bain that I believe so highly in them.
Yeah, that defense, man, could be a top 5
Deadly.
in the league,
Mhm.
so
And then you had the size of Zach Edey, which is
Mhm.
something they were lacking. We'll see what that is, but in terms of plug and play players, Edey was one of the best players simply off of his stature and how big he is and how effective he's going to be at protecting the cup.
Uh-huh.
But at the 5 spot, this is where I've got our guy.
We flip-flopped.
Oh, did we? You've got
I got
DeJounte at okay.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. For Derek White, I think there is a legitimate argument that he is the best role player in the entire NBA.
Mhm.
A guy who had serious all-star push through the first half of the season, and it was fully deserved as well.
Wish he got it, man.
It would have been cool. Obviously, as a Celtics fan, I wanted that, but the guards are great. I mean,
Yep.
I can't be upset. There's no one that was on the Eastern Conference list that I would have replaced Derek White with. Um, just makes everything we said about Drew Holiday winning basketball plays. He is so selfless. It doesn't matter what you need Derek White to do. He will go out there and do it. If you can't tell by my list overall, defense is something that I weigh pretty damn heavily. You
Yep.
see it with White, Herb Jones, Vassell, Bain. It's a consistent building block because if that offense is not clicking for a player, if you can be out there and hold it down defensively, I trust you. Derek White is able to explode for 30-point games, can defend a team's best guard, and is an absolute hound. Him and Drew Holiday, I think, both benefited by doing this list playing together.
Yep.
So while the numbers of 15 points and 4 boards and 5 assists don't read well, I don't need to explain to anybody who watches basketball how good Derek White is.
100%, man.
Like I said, arguably the best role player in the league and a block per game, 1.2, 22nd in the league last year for a shooting guard is pretty damn ridiculous. So,
Yep.
got Derek White at 5, but tell us about DeJounte.
Not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. As you can tell, we can just flipped. Best scoring season of DeJounte's career, as you noted, looked a little bit better without Trey there, and he was able to do a little bit of that facilitating like he's used to, which he's going to get back to in New Orleans with a lot more options, I would say, with the offense to get things going. So definitely exciting there. Just an unfortunate season for the Hawks, all in all, but
Yeah, man.
DeJounte definitely got his and was doing his thing. So give
Yeah,
him the nod.
he's kind of oddly enough a player where, like, statistically, he could drop in his numbers from this year because the Pelicans have more players eating at that offensive pie and end up higher on the list for me.
Yep. Yep.
Just because, like, he's a great player at everything else, and being able to play make now with a Zion and with the Herb Jones and a Trey Murphy the third and all of those pieces that they've got, a CJ McCollum by him. I think the sky's the limit for Murray, and I think this Pelicans team can be pretty damn
Injuries.
good.
Yeah.
So I love the shout out there. But I feel like here is where this is kind of the elite tier
Yep.
to me. The top 4 shooting guards. And I feel like we could have a lot of similarities. But kick us off. Who have you got at the 4 spot?
Here comes Kyrie. I got Kyrie Irving at the 4 spot. As we talked about last video, it's pretty impressive that an all-time point guard handed the keys off, knowingly so, to a generational player. It was earned, but it just says a lot. Still, he excelled in the shooting guard role. His highest 3-point percentage season in the last 3 years that he's had. So focused a little bit more on the shooting aspect of his game. Still was facilitating 5.2 assists, 5 boards, 1.3 steals. So still bringing that Kyrie energy all around. Great
Mm-hmm.
defense as well with his shiftiness and quickness. But it's pretty crazy that we are talking about an all-time point guard now in the
Yep.
shooting guard spots, but he's definitely still in the elite tier at his age. It's a
Yeah.
treat to watch him and Luca.
I have Kyrie at 4 as well. So I got a feeling we're about to run the table here. Um, Everything you said about Kyrie, totally agree with. Uh, he's one of those players that I find really interesting because I think if you do a normie list, like just average basketball fans, they put him top 3.
Hmm.
And I think it's more of a testament to the guy I have at 3 and that I assume you have at 3 more than anything. Uh, Continuing to just be underrated. But Kyrie, what a great year. The proof is in the pudding. Helped lead the Dallas Mavericks all the way to the NBA Finals.
Hmm.
We talked about it in our playoff preview. One of the better defensive guards given his height and lack of weight. It's
Yeah.
his skill set, his IQ, shiftiness, quickness, as you said, that really uplifts Kyrie.
Hmm.
Um, Able to do everything well. The fact he still had 5.2 assists and passed the keys to Luca, who is able to play make at the level he is,
Yeah.
really is a testament to Kyrie as a player and what he means to that Mavericks team.
100%.
Um, he had been looking for a home really since Cleveland. And I think Dallas is that home where I could see him spending the rest of his years in the NBA. And I think he's set himself up pretty nicely to continue staying in this top 5 shooting guards, which again is very weird to have him in.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Um, with the 3 spot, gonna go out on a limb, say we've got the same guy here.
Donovan.
Donovan Mitchell with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Uh Dude, just underrated, and I really think it's because he's played in Utah and Cleveland
Yep.
for most of his career. Like they're just
Hmm.
not the sexiest names. Normie basketball fans aren't rushing to see Donovan Mitchell, even though he has those big posters and 40-point, 50-point games
Yeah.
pretty consistently, it feels like.
Yeah.
26.6 points, 5.1 boards, 6.1 assists, top 5 in steals per game at 1.8, a hound on the ball, able to give you 30 to 40 every single night. The best player on the Cavs and
Yep.
just one of the most dynamic guards in the league.
Heart and soul of the Cavs team is what I've written down. Unbelievable in round 1 of the playoffs, leading scorer, 50-point bomb in a losing effort, actually, but they thankfully still won the series in 7.
Mhm.
So no worries there. But like you said, just the ability for him to explode, have those explosive posters, those 40-point bombs, and the defense, man, he is a pest on D, always moving, always never taking a play off. He's just an amazing basketball player to watch and is 100% underappreciated in the league.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I think a lot of people would have Kyrie higher. I think Donovan is the better player in my own opinion. If I had to start a
Agreed.
team with one, obviously Kyrie, Hall of Famer. I think this guy is a Hall of Famer as well, though. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but now we're at the top 2, and this I had a choice, and then flip flopped, and then flip flopped again. So I'm kind of curious to see who you have at 2 and 1.
I had him at 1 the entire time, and I'm keeping him at 1. There's one thing I'm gonna talk about that was dragging at me that would have moved him down, but stayed at the top spot, leaving Devin Booker at number 2.
I have that too.
27.1 points a game, 4.5 boards, 6.9 assists. We'll call it 7, and we'll call it a steal as well, 0.9 steals. Had the ball in his hands a lot this season because of what was going on in Phoenix, but made an All-NBA third team. Still had those games where he just literally couldn't miss no matter what you did to him on
No.
defense. He was just I'm gonna get to my spot, I'm gonna pull up, and I'm scoring, and we're going back down the other end. When he gets cooking, it's like a Kobe like, just
Seriously.
in the zone, not missing. I'm gonna carry my team to a victory. Pretty efficient season as
Mm-hmm.
well, all in all, considering all the moving parts out there, but he's the Team USA
Yeah.
stud for a reason. Gotta have Bucket too.
I have Book It too as well, and this one was so close. It was really him and Ant, and I was just flipping back and forth. That game against New Orleans this year, really, I guess all of his games against New Orleans for the most part, because he decides to go ape
Ballistic.
anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, just cannot miss. Had 52 points in that game in 39 minutes, hooping out of his damn mind. Um, what really impressed me, because his offensive game is talked about all the time for good reason. Another guy who can give you 40 any given night against any opponent, doesn't matter who's primarily guarding him, because of how explosive he is. It was his performance this year in the Olympics that was just such a great reminder. He is able to buy into a role so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you need me to be the main defender. You want me to really focus on defense? I can do that. You need me to facilitate and play make and, create opportunities for my teammates? I can do that. You need me to go out there and hoop? Just lock in on the rim and score at will? I can do that. And I think what kind of sucks is in Phoenix, he's not afforded that opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to be the guy, you or Durant, but have to be the guy every single game. You have to play, like, he's just given this very tall task where he can't play as free.
Yep.
And I think it just sucks a little bit. But what he does in Phoenix is ridiculous. You take him off this team, they're not a playoff team.
No.
He's that big of an impact. Does everything well. We all know Devin Booker. The
Yep.
dude is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
that leaves us with our number one shooting guard, Anthony Edwards.
Yep.
Honestly, the reason I put him at 1 and Book It 2 is the playoff battle.
Yeah.
That was the difference maker for me.
For sure.
He just continues to grow into the role as a shooting guard. And with Ant being as young as he is, he's only going to develop more.
Mm-hmm.
He is bailed out from time to time due to that 4-letter word. We talk.
Sorry, a little
Damn.
fly. A little
Oh,
fly in here.
he's bailed out a little bit by that 4-letter word, the aura. There are times, and we saw it in that Sun series, where he shot. I think there was a game he shot like 6 of 22. He was stinking it up a little bit.
Yeah.
was helping playmaking, and he's developed greatly as a playmaker.
Huge.
Greatly. Like, out of Georgia, that was kind of the thing for me where I'm like, the kid scores, and he scores very well. But sorry about that, technical difficulties. But
Mhm.
I was just saying, out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards scored the ball at will. We saw he had that ability at the next level. I did not think he'd be this good as a playmaker. And that has opened up the Timberwolves game and his game to being able to be at this number one spot.
Highest point and assist averages of his career.
Mhm.
That is another thing I wrote down. He has truly turned into that number one overall guy. As you noted, there were a lot of obvious highs. He was the number one overall pick. He had the
Yep.
athleticism, he had the ability to score, but it was the minute parts of his game. How was he going to facilitate? How was he going to look in NBA offense? And he's
Mhm.
finally starting to figure it out and get there. My big concern, obviously, he's still young. He's 22, 23. Got to cut back on the turnovers. 3.1 a game, highest on the list. That was one of the things that I was looking at. Like, book might be one, but as you said, head to heads, they're important. They matter. Giving Ant the nod. Um, it was a crazy run that he went on in the playoffs. So
Yeah. And I mean, really, that was the difference maker. And again, playoffs, team sport. I don't need to explain that, obviously, but I that was the difference maker. When you're dealing with two all-stars, two all NBA guys, two of the best guys in the league, you got to pick it hairs. And for me, that was the difference maker. But every game they could rotate. Like, I feel like next year when we fill this out, Book could easily be number one.
for sure.
So we'll see, but I think it's more of a credit to Anthony Edwards and how his game has developed year in and year out. And I think him playing in the Olympics with all the all NBA talent that he did, he's only going to get better.
100%.
That's the list, though. Anyone else you want to include? Any other shout outs?
Shout out the 2020 draft class. I was just looking at it because that was
Hmm.
Ants. Ton of amazing role players from that class. Josh Green, Obi Toppin, Denny Advia, Hallie, not a role guy, but
Yeah.
Neesmith, Sadiq Bey, Maxey, not a role guy, Pritchard, Jaden McDaniels, Desmond Bain.
Wow.
Just that class was ridiculous. Xavier Tillman. I it like that was a
That
really
is
good draft class. So that's my final note.
what a note to end on. Wow. I need to go back
Could be a
through
vid
some
we
of
do.
those. Absolutely, because dude, that
Like that's
those are
insane.
names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Wiseman was there, like LaMelo.
dude, that is still one of the craziest stories of the draft. The biggest one for me is just the Timberwolves wanted to trade out of one, and teams weren't willing to do it. They weren't biting. They didn't know if Anthony Edwards was, kind of worth that number one overall pick, or at least the package to
Yeah.
get there. And then he is who he is.
Crazy how the cards play, man.
And it was in the best interest of Minnesota that no team did meet their offer.
And they got Jaden McDaniels in this draft through a trade. Like
Dude,
that's two key guys that are huge on their team now. Like
totally.
it's crazy.
And when we do this small forward list, I haven't started on it yet, but McDaniels is going to be one of those guys at worst is an honorable mention.
100%.
So it's a testament to Minnesota.
Yep.
I did, and what I love filling these lists out is I feel like I learn a lot about myself in the way that I evaluate the game, the things I hold more importantly than others.
Mhm.
And I think looking through my list, defense is the biggest
For
one.
sure. For sure.
Um, because there's a lot of bucket getters in this league. But being able to say, hey, I can guard a team's best guy and do it is what I think separates.
That, yeah.
So
you're in the smaller percentile for sure.
absolutely.
A lot more scorers than defenders.
And it's tough, man. I get it. If I were one of these guys, I'd want to go out there looking drippy, putting up 25 points a game.
Yep.
You know, I'm getting buckets, man, and no one can stop me. I dare you to try. So I get it, and that's the, you know, basketball mentality. But having a dude like Herb Jones, who's like, yeah, if I'm open in the corner, I'm knocking it down. You're not going to stop me. I shoot 42% from deep. But my primary thing is I want to go and stop you from scoring, and I'm going to do it.
I enjoy it.
Yes. Like I think when we look at the 2028 Olympics and projecting a roster, there's a good chance Herb Jones is there. I know I feel like I need a Herb Jones fan account. Because
start one. Push it. I love it.
There has to be like a Herb Muse or something. And if so, I need to follow. I need to have every statistic at my disposal so I can toss them out at all.
Throw him to Grant Hill. Get him.
That's what I need. I'll get Herb on the Olympic team, and then in 2028 in the US, I'll be there with a jersey.
Jones
when he's a Boston Celtic.
Let's push it. Jones 2028.
We have an agenda, and we're here for it. But that's our top 10. Let us know what you guys got. Is it different? I feel like the top 4, you might move a player or two around, but the players are in that top 4.
Agreed.
I think 5 to the honorable mentions is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
So let us know who you've got. Is there anyone we missed? Reminder, there was a 41 game requirement, and this is based off of their position last season. So that's why we've got it this way. But before we sign off, one last thing for the people. The song of the pod.
Let's get the weekend going.
What do you got?
Got a throwback to the 70s with some Fleetwood Mac. Got Landslide. Just a classic.
Man.
Beautiful, beautiful song.
Man.
Windows down, hair blowing in the wind. Sorry, I was daydreaming. But if you haven't listened, go give it a listen.
Yeah, it's an all-time. It's an absolute all-timer. For me, I've got New Light by John Mayer. Big John Mayer guy, some might say. I got Continuum on vinyl. He's a childhood go-to, so I've been spinning him a lot lately. And that's what we got. I feel like John Mayer is a shooting guard. He gives that. No, he's a point guard.
Facilitator.
Because I heard him on Go. He's a facilitator.
Yeah.
Yo, that song is... Never mind. Well, anyways, song of the pod, all done. Let us know who you've got in your shooting guards. Leave a like, subscribe if you like what we're doing. Small forward video up next.
Yep.
And we can't wait to film it.
Super excited.
So we've got that for you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.
Bro.
I don't know. Dude, that's terrible. I don't know why you can't do it.
It's ridiculous. But I love y'all. Know that. I do love you guys.
Exactly.
And thank you.
Thank you again. And we will see you in the next video. Peace out.
Have a great weekend. Peace.
See ya.